trouble is, so have some Manx laws, and this medieval legislation has become the main issue in the forthcoming general election. Annie Feenborough has been watching them trying to decide whether or not to leap into the 20th century.
Broadcasting on AM and FM from Douglas in the Isle of Man, this is Manx Radio. This is Manx Radio's Man in Line with David Collister.
Yes, the Man in Line, and we're welcoming calls today on matters concerning the Manx election, which, of course, as you probably know, is on the 21st of November. We've had a fairly busy programme so far, so we get...
A small island community which has resisted change for a long time, but the Isle of Man has finally had the 20th century thrust upon it, radio phone-ins and general elections included. This election sees a total of 71 candidates competing for 24 seats, each one standing as an independent. This means 71 manifestos and 71 unforgettable slogans for the posters. While the printers are kept busy, the House of Keys, the Isle of Man's Parliament, lies strangely silent. Whoever does eventually occupy these imposing seats has an awesome responsibility. For the Isle of Man, though part of the British Isles, makes all its own laws.
Our relationship with the United Kingdom is that of a Crown dependency. So we are certainly dependent on the Crown. We are British and proud to be. And we are responsible for our own internal affairs. And the United Kingdom look after external affairs on our behalf.
This general election isn't about the council tax or unemployment or whether John Major performs well at Maastricht. Underlying the whole campaign is the question of homosexuality. Here, on the Isle of Man, homosexuality is punishable with life imprisonment. The House of Keys has consistently refused to reform this law, even though it's in breach of the European Convention on Human Rights.
People do mention the homosexual issue and the debate that has been running in the island for the last 3 years or so. Obviously, there is a lot of feeling, a lot of concerns about it, because I think it is a very difficult issue to come to terms with. There is a feeling, I think, amongst the candidates that the general public don't want any change.
Is the other thing that causes me concern.
Why change it?
Because our obligations say we should, that's why I'm afraid.
As soon as you change it,
Yes.
it opens the door for all kinds of things.
Right, right. Yes.
I don't know about this crawling out of the woodwork, etc.
Right.
But it does seem to me that England changed vastly
Right.
when they did legalise homosexuality.
I mean, I've got no time at all for homosexuals.
Right.
No time whatsoever. And I mean, anything that assists them or puts them forward in the public eye, I've got no time for.
Well, I came political 2 years ago over a suicide on the Isle of Man, which a guy killed himself because he was gay and he was arrested for it. I was just basically pushed into politics out of the blue.
Alan Shea lived on the island for several years as a homosexual before he realised he was breaking the law. He's so frustrated by the government's stance that he's put himself forward as a candidate in the election, fighting for gay rights.
I've put my leaflet out on human rights 2 days ago. I've had no bad responses yet. Some people are waiting buckets of cold water for me, which if it gets any warmer, at the moment it's very cold, and we'll have a nice cold shower. But I'm still going to fight. Even if I don't win the election, the fight continues.
It isn't whether or not you like homosexuals, which seems to be the basis of some people's judgment. I mean, there are other considerations to take into account, and I have been disappointed by the number of members who have in fact taken a stance on this issue.
I voted for a change in the law because I think the Isle of Man should stand by its international obligations. And any of my colleagues, politicians, and we've debated this ad nauseum in the House, hours and hours and hours, and I think a lot of people are very sick and tired of the debate going on and on, and they really want to see it resolved. Now, in spite of what any of my colleagues would say, Whitehall want us to legislate for ourselves. And I want us to legislate for ourselves.
The risk he takes is that this attitude could lose him a lot of votes, if not the election. Recent evidence suggests that the majority of people on the island are blissfully unaware of their European obligations and believe that the sex laws can and should stay the same forever. They found a champion in Jack Wood, who's standing against David North in the constituency of Middle.
From going round the constituents of Middle and talking to other people, the Manx people certainly do not want any change in this law. I mean, we're an independent nation, we make our own laws, and I don't accept that the English government will impose. They might threaten it, but I don't think for one minute they will do it.
And if Jack Wood wants to tell people that it isn't going to happen, so be it, on his head. Because, fine, if I am not re-elected, and he is, I'm afraid, a year from now, I'll be saying, I told you so.
I'm not saying it because it's emotive and it's vote-catching. This is what I do believe, and I will not go along with any change of legislation which enables homosexuals to promote their activities in public places.
Voters tend to believe what they want to hear, and Jack Wood will win votes unless David North explains that as the British government signed the Human Rights Convention on their behalf, it will eventually force the island to comply.
And I think most people understand that, really. You can't do nothing about it. I hate the damn sight of them, and I realise you can't do nothing about it. And I mean, I can't do nothing about it. I'm going to be forced, whether I like it or whether I don't, by England, who are going to be pushed by Brussels or whoever to do what they want them to do.
But there are still a lot of people out there waiting to be convinced.
No way does Manx people, no way do they want this stupid gay law. It's always been here. I've explained this before. We accepted it, but we don't want what they call the rent boy system, and that's what I think these fellas are after.
Well, as you know, our politicians have voted against a change in the law.
The election results in constituencies like Middle will be carefully analysed. If supporting reform of the sex laws is seen to be a vote loser, then nervous MHKs will yet again say no to legalising homosexuality the next time it's debated in the House of Keys. And a recent letter from the Home Office in London to Alan Shea states that this will definitely be their last chance.
If the Isle of Man does not enact legislation on homosexual behaviour, the United Kingdom will do so on the island's behalf at the earliest suitable opportunity.
And if they act on these words, it will be a disastrous setback for an island trying to prove itself capable of even more independence.